But anyway, 5. God. Number 3 for me. So that's a show. This is a side note. That's a show I definitely plan to watch because it's very popular. I've had dozens of people tell me over the years it's great, including you. So I'm gonna have to watch it eventually, but I've not seen it. So not seen even a significant amount of it to really have a good opinion of it. So number 3 for me. Number 3 is Berserk, the original Berserk, not this one. So. This is a show, I don't have anything I can show for this or any clips I can put in because I don't own it. Because the DVDs have been long since out of print for years. They're stupidly expensive and there's no Blu-ray release out of it. But Berserk, like I said about Fullmetal Alchemist, Berserk is a story that tells its story perfectly in terms of the pacing and the payoff. And again, to go back to FMA and Gungrave as well, it's a story that starts out with a premise, and then the following episodes. But Berserk is actually almost the entire arc. Is the entire story is this arc, where the entire thing is to see. You see Guts as this badass adult. You know, he has a metal arm, and he's missing an eye. He's got scars and scratches, and just metal stuff just attached to him everywhere, and he's just a monster. He's just it's a theme actually of this show is that he's just a walking monster, and you wonder how he got to that point. So you flash back and see him as a kid, where he's this arrogant little punk, and then you see you meet Griffith in the Band of the Hawks, and Griffith is this very sort of gallant, like your atypical like paladin type character. He's your lawful good knight. And he bests him in combat, and they had this sort of like rivalry partnership going on thing. And over the years, he trains him to be a better swordsman. And there's definitely I think some homoerotic themes with the two of them because there's a lot of scenes of them. There's a lot of scenes of them standing naked in front of each other. But their friendship and their camaraderie definitely resonates a lot on screen though, and it becomes almost this partnership where like all Guts wants to do is fight, and all he wants to do is make Griffith into a better leader and make him proud and give him more power to conquer, find his place in the world. And so their partnership is sort of like Guts will fight his battles for him, and then Griffith will be the sort of political representative of that. And it's very similar to Harry and Brandon Gungrave in that sense, where Guts is all the muscle, and then Griffith is the silver tongue, the smooth talker, the political figure. I'm not going to talk about what happens in the last arc, but there's a big overarching story that goes with this from the manga, and we have the 3 films that were adapted. We have the games, which continue the story, as well as the new series that just aired this season. So even though I feel like the original series is almost perfect, the story does continue. But yeah, just it kind of in a short span of time tells a perfect story, and I would love to own that series if I could. Mm-hmm. So good.
Number 3, Moribito.
All right.
So Moribito is perfect to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those things where like I really enjoy anime that's not about like your regular preteen to teenage high school kid like that just so happens to get thrown in like some stupid situation where like it just like goes like stupidly out of proportion.
Yeah.
Like a lot of animes nowadays. Like this show is about a 30-year-old woman who is seeking to redeem herself and her master by saving 7 lives while becoming a bodyguard. Which, when it's in itself, is pretty damn awesome.
Yeah.
So, the things that I really loved about this show is that, first of all, the animation. I love the animation for this show. It's very unique, in a way that it almost looked like they drew it to some degree, like to make it look like really realistic. Minus like the eyes, but
it seems like the show is grounded in reality just based on the plot synopsis there.
Yeah, it really is, and it has like some supernatural stuff, but it's mainly about her rescuing the life of a young prince who is about to be assassinated by his own family because
Oh wow.
they think that he has some sort of water demon inside of him that's causing a drought.
Oh.
Yeah, you find out later on that it's his spirit, but it's not a demon though. It would actually would have been horrible if they actually wound up killing him, because that would have like fucked up everybody forever at that point. But anyway, so man, just the story just about like her just barely hanging on to like keeping this kid alive, because they're like being like bum rushed by like ninjas and samurais and shit, like trying to take them out. And it was like it's one of those things where it's just a joyride all the way through. It's interesting. Each character has like their really profound and awesome background stories. Like once you like really learn about everything about Balsa, the main character is like she's from like this really off like far off land, but like her parents got assassinated from their king because they knew too much about like the corruption that was happening there, and her being taken to this country from her master, who was her father's best friend, to like
A bunch of nonsense.
yeah, like save her, but like her master wound up having to kill like all of his friends because it was just man. So just her trying to redeem it's really just her trying to redeem her master, because the person who did all the killing was her master, because the people that he killed was shut up. The people that he killed, like I said, were his best friends. They were all the 7 lances of Cabal's government, were all like these super strong like lancers.
Yeah.
They should really be a Fate Zero. Anyway, that would be awesome actually.
Yeah.
If they were like based off of real people. But anyway, so yeah, that story. It's one of the things where like it really got me through personal enjoyment. Like I'm sure there are other animes that are like better and all this stuff, and I don't really care. But to me, it was absolutely perfect. There's not really much I can really even say about it, because I don't want to spoil it too much. If you want to know more about it, you're gonna have to watch it. So
Yep.
fuck anybody.
So number 2 for me, and this was the deciding between number 1 and 2 is always the hardest for me. Like no one has ever had head and shoulders above the other, but I finally made a decision just based on personal investment and just an overall enjoyment of the series. But it was hard. It was very hard. So I can't say that I love these two equally, because I wouldn't put them as 1 or 2 at that point. But number 2 is Trigun, and Trigun. I talked about Yasuhiro Naito and I talked about Gungrave. But Trigun is Yasuhiro Naito's masterpiece. Like Yasuhiro Naito has not really worked on a whole lot of other things, but the guy is brilliant. Like he has like a degree in philosophy or something like that, and he has like all this wonderful writing talent. And his art style is one of my favorite art styles in all of anime, because he has a very unique like facial design, very edgy and angular, broad shoulders, and a fixation with like big ridiculous weapons and crosses. Like he has like a fetish for crosses if you look at all his character designs. So you see that in Wolfwood, and that eventually carries over into Grave and Gungrave as well. And then his last manga, Blood Blockade, which just recently got animated into a series last year or 2 years ago, which is also a great series, but not nearly, I don't hold it as high regard as Gungrave or Trigun. So I hold Trigun in a much higher regard than Bebop, although the two are kind of ranked similar by fans, because it told a linear story, whereas Bebop told a non-linear story. I love the aesthetic, again, with the Western themes and the sort of, like I said, fetishization of weapons and styles and all that. But the strongest point of Trigun is within its main character of Vash the Stampede, because I don't think there's a character in anime that is well developed or as interesting as Vash is. And he has like the ultimate hero complex of like, he doesn't want anyone to die, no matter what. And so he has this reputation of being this monstrous vigilante, this badass. They call him the humanoid typhoon, and he has a $60 million dollar or double dollar, as they call them in this world, bounty on his head because he destroyed an entire city, just completely leveled it, every single building. Not one person died. Not one person died. So he has this awful reputation of being this vigilante gunman, this outlaw, and yet you see him and he's a complete dork.
Yeah.
And it's like he's not that person at all. And it's so the early episodes are sort of like this disconnect of like, is this guy for real? And like even the other characters are like, is this the guy who's worth $60 million double? And then it goes on from there. It's not until like the last third of the series where you really start to realize the true meat of the lore and the backstory, and it's so fascinating.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to go ahead and spoil it. I'm going to talk about it. So you find out that Vash is one of two basically clones almost, where they were artificially created in a lab to be part human, part plant. And I don't mean plant as like a tree plant, but like this organism that provides power and it lives forever and weird stuff like that. And so he's basically this super organism, and he's basically they're on a massive space cruiser that's on its way from, this is like in the far future. They're on this massive space cruiser that's on this journey to this planet to colonize it with these plants and give it life. It's a completely desert planet. Mm-hmm. And they're going to give it life through these giant plant machines, and through, Vash and his brother Knives would be the eyes to see that process through. They'd oversee the whole planet. And so the flashback shows them on the ship learning about life. And they have this curiosity of, what does it mean to, how they basically are being force-fed morals from this woman that's their caretaker, and they don't have a formulated opinion of what morals are like, so they make up their own mind. And this woman, her name is Rem, is sort of like a motherly figure to both of them. She takes care of them as if they were her children. And Vash's interpretation of morality becomes no life, like every single life is precious. Sanctity of life to its extreme. Like no life can ever be taken needlessly by another person. There's no point to it. And Knives' interpretation is, because they have a situation where you have like a spider and a butterfly.
Yeah.
And Knives is like, the spider needs to eat the butterfly to survive. You can't get in the way of that. And Vash is like, no, neither of them need to die. The butterfly needs to live, and I can't kill the spider either. And that sticks with them. And by the time they become adults, they're rivals. And so they're on the planet. And Knives is able to trigger this power that's laying dormant within Vash because of his plant hybridness, and he emits like this giant super laser cannon from his arm and blasts the moon above the planet, and that's what destroys the city around him, where he got his reputation from. Blows a hole through the moon.
Yeah.
And that's where he's like, and for the rest of time, Vash is like afraid of himself because he's so powerful and he doesn't know how to control that power, and so they live to be like 100 plus years old. Like Vash is like over 120 years old during the course of the story, and it's like there's an element of like shock and horror almost with this realization of who he is, because he comes off as so sweet and innocent and just naive. Like he has like a childlike innocent naivete about him, but then when you actually come to the realization of what he is, the other characters are just horrified by it.
Yeah.
And it makes him feel bad. It makes him feel self-conscious because he's not in control of it. What he is does not reflect his personality at all. It's just, I know I've rambled about it for a while, but he's just such an interesting character. And again, Naitao and his stories, the rivalries are just wonderful, because the rivalry between Vash and Knives is fantastic. And the final battle between them is like the most well choreographed gunfight in all of anime. Like, it's so on point. It's not even over the top. It's very subtle, but just the choreography is so perfect. Yeah. And it's like they've been waiting 100 years to do this, and they're finally getting it on. So, like I said, it falls on the same categories of Berserk and Fullmetal Alchemist as far as like how to tell a good story in the time that you're given, and Trigun did it the best.
In your opinion.
Yep. So, go ahead.
Number 2. You're gonna love this one.
Mm-hmm.
It is Fate Zero.
All right.
So, Fate Zero, my lord, it is beautiful.
Yeah.
It is probably one of my favorite well-animated shows ever. As far as like just the animation quality is beautiful, gorgeous, everything.
Yeah.
Man, there's really nothing bad to say about any of the characters. Like, even like the characters that you kind of hate, they're still well written. Like, they're still good characters.
Yeah. Even the ones that are complete depravity, like
but they're still written really well though.
Yeah.
Like,
and they're still fascinating in their own way, even if they're despicable.
oh my god, yes, that's the one of the things that I really loved about this show is that like you either love the characters or you love to hate them. But either way, they're still really well-rounded characters. But Kiritugu is a very interesting character to me, just from his seemingly lack of emotion.
Yeah.
Seemingly, even though he still kind of does, it's like he doesn't really want to show any of that. Though I feel like, and it's just, you know, throughout the whole thing, you just kind of see what his ideals really are. Even though it is kind of an ensemble cast, like it's not even just about him; it's about all the characters. But I feel like he's technically the main character.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
feel like, yeah.
So Fate Zero in a way is I often say this, that it's the Game of Thrones of anime, because
Yeah.
it has ridiculous budget and production qualities, fantasy themes, ensemble cast, everyone you care about dies. So yeah.
For Irisfield.
Yeah.
One of my favorite waifus. Right next to Morgiana from Magi, Irisfield is one of my favorite waifus. She's so innocent. Like, the thing that I really loved about her is just the fact that, well, not about her, just the feels that I felt regarding her, really. Because she did not deserve the stuff that happened to her. She's just such an innocent person who just wanted to love her daughter and her husband and possibly explore the world, but she just knew that she couldn't really do that.
Yeah, that pure
Really-
innocence and curiosity. One of my favorite scenes early on is when she's just frolicking in the beach at night with her shoes off, and Saber's just kind of looking at her with this sort of somber grin on her face of like, this is adorable, but it's like tragic at the same time, and the music is playing in the background. It's such a great scene.
It is. By the way, Saber, Irisfield, OTP.
Yeah.
OTP, always and forever, because you know what? I feel like Saber is the type of gentleman that Irisfield deserves in her life. Kiritugu, was he cheating on her? I'm pretty sure he was cheating
We
on
never
her.
got confirmation of that.
It felt like he was
Yeah.
with Maya, but I just feel like Irisfield she doesn't deserve that. She deserves a man. A woman, someone who is going to love her.
A knight.
She needs it. She really did need a knight. So that's why I love it. Saber is a wonderful character within herself. I love her character development. I actually loved a lot of the exposition that happened throughout the whole show. Like the first episode I feel like is really important if you don't really if you never saw Fate Stay Night and but you needed to like an explanation, really.
Yeah, not every anime has a 40-minute opening episode to where people walk in circles and establish the plot.
Yeah, but I feel like it was needed.
Yeah, it was necessary.
Yeah, honestly, I kind of like the fact that they got that out the way, and versus like having to take time throughout like the show to kind of like continuously
explain it.
Yeah, continuously explain. You get it all out the way, and then once you get that all out the way, it's just all just a fucking roller coaster after that.
And by the end of that first episode, when they finally summon the servants, if you're not hooked by it, because that is the hypest shit. When
Oh
they finally
my
summon
god!
them,
To see all the servants just come out of just So, yeah, it was like quite literally perfect in almost every respect. The soundtrack was great, the characters were great, the fucking just exposition wonderful, development of each character wonderful.
So I have some honorable mentions, but I'll actually mention them after I talk about my number one, because we're on a bit of a roll. I want to kind of follow this up. So my number one is Fate Zero.
Yeah,
I won't ramble on about this forever because it is my favorite series. But I've talked about Fate, I've talked about Time Moon extensively because it is my favorite franchise. But I hold all of the Fate adaptations almost in equal regard to each other in terms of how much I like them. Because the original Fate Stay Night was my favorite anime for a long time until Fate Zero came around, but I have to objectively say that Fate Zero is a better series on a technical level and on an artistic level. As objectively, it is, in my personal opinion, the best anime ever made. And I'll talk about a few key points that I think are relevant to that. You mentioned briefly the soundtrack there. Mm-hmm. I will still say this. I will go on a limb and say, not only the best soundtrack in anime, best soundtrack period amongst all media, hands down, the best. And we were just talking about this today, where I was saying that you could have someone listen to this soundtrack who is not familiar with the franchise at all, and some of the pieces would bring them to tears alone if they're into classical music, at least, and into like soundtrack type music. It is so, like, I don't care how many times I've listened to it. The show has been out for 5 years now. It's crazy to think about, but it's been out for 5 years now. Or at least the first season came out 5 years ago. The second season came out in parts of 2012. But it still gives me chills on the soundtrack. It's unbelievable. So the other thing is, one of my favorite moments of the series that always gets me, it doesn't quite bring me to tears, but it gets me choked up. It gets me choked up just talking about it. You'll probably see that as I talk about it. So I love the episode at the end of season 1 where the episode is nothing but talking for the first 90% of the episode. Yeah. And it's the Three Kings banquet when Saber, Archer, and Ryder, who is King Arthur, Gilgamesh, and Alexander the Great, are having a banquet over a barrel of wine, and they're discussing who among them is the best king. Because they're all king. These are the three kings. They're all kings of their respective thing: King of Knights, King of Heroes, and King of Conquerors. And so they're basically discussing the finer points of their abilities and which one has the right to hold the Grail. So Ryder and Gilgamesh are basically going back and forth, just like, I'll be the one that takes it. And he's like, you cannot take it because it already belongs to me. And so then Saber's like,
Gilgamesh is a piece of shit.
Yeah, so Saber's just like, I think I've got a fair shot. And they're just like, yeah, right. So like, she has this fair and just sense of morality of like, it is not, it's not what you can do for your king, it's what your king can do for your country kind of thing. And it's kind of like a reality check for her, like, oh shit, the Ryder basically looks at her and is like, you're wrong. You've twisted the meaning. You have it completely backwards. Your kingdom is meant to serve you. You are meant to rule and subjugate. That is what a king is for. A king who is not a tyrant is not a king at all, is what he says. And she's just, and to further his point, he summons his reality marvel, which is his entire army, and just like, it's this big, this power play, and it just has her completely just shaking, and just, she's the underdog at that point. Like, this almighty king, the limitless power, who we've already seen in Fate Stay Night is obscenely powerful and goes through all these struggles. You're now getting her backstory and her character development of how she got to where she was, and how King Arthur of all characters can grow as a character.
Yeah.
So she's the underdog. She has all these people around her who are stronger and better than her, and then you get to the river battle, and all of them are hopeless to defeat this Cthulhu monstrosity that has cast her over the river. And then, they all kind of mutually agree.
Best character, by the way.
They all kind of mutually agree, like, alright, Saber, this is... they're like, alright girl, this is all you, this is your fight. And then she does it. And the dialogue that Irie says, where she's like, she's about to call out the name of the miracle that she holds in her hands. And you see, she does literally the fate equivalent of the spirit bomb, where she's gathering everyone's power, and it's like, Excalibur! And just the close-up on her, and just like the intensity of the animation and the music is so beautiful. That is my favorite moment in all of anime, almost, because of how the build-up to that, and how like up until that point she was the underdog, and she's just like, through this divine power, this is what I bring to the table, guys. Yeah. You have your pointy, shiny things, and you have all your soldiers what? And it's like, you can't touch this. And they were just like even Gilgamesh is like, I have the weirdest boner right now. I'm gonna marry that. Which sets up the whole plot point for Fate Stay Night, and it's like that whole arc of like she's surrounded by people who are stronger than her. They beat her down verbally by saying, you're not good enough, you're not cut out to be a king, you were a failure in your previous life, and we're where it's at. And then she just completely turns it around on them. And it's not a cop-out or a MacGuffin or an arrogant, cocky way that she does it. It's truly, she overcomes it.
Yeah,
and
she really does.
And it's the most absolutely beautiful way it could possibly be done. So that's my rant about Phase Zero. I don't want to talk about it. I could talk about it all night, but I choose not to.
So I guess since we're talking about number ones, I guess I might as well go into mine.
Well, do you want to mention honorable mentions first?
I guess.
Okay, so go into yours since I just got done talking. So.
Okay, so mine.
We can make this quick and just kind of go over them really.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So mine, Hell Girl.
Right on.
Hell Girl. I mostly like Hell Girl because of the fact that I love the fact that it went into the whole concept of like what would happen if you took the phrase like go to hell literally, that's literally one and only thing that's actually supernatural about it. Is the fact like everything else is like super real, like super down to earth, except for the fact that you could possibly send the people that you don't like to hell, and that the amount of madness that happened in that show, because you really don't understand the psyche of people in this world and what they can really do if they were able to do that. Like, I was going to say that there was actually an entire city that was wiped out because everyone sent each other to hell. Like, pretty much. There was maybe 2 or 3 people out of like the several thousand who was in that city that actually remained. Like, and I feel like stuff like that. The thing about that I actually really liked about it is I feel like if that happened in real life, if that theme was real in real life, something like that would actually happen. I could feel like that can absolutely happen, in my opinion. So that's what I really liked about it. The characters were real, like very real, and then the supernatural thing, just adding that, like just it's like a what if story pretty much.
Right.
So I won't get into much any more than that. Should I go into all of them, or
do you want to alternate? Because we each have.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So
go ahead.
One of mine is Psychopaths. So if I didn't mention before, Fate Zero is written by Gen Orobochi, and everything this man touches is pure gold. Like he wrote Fate Zero, he wrote Madoka Magica, he wrote certain episodes of Aldno Zero, and he wrote Psychopaths. And Psychopaths, I'm still kind of finishing it. Like, there's a second season, which I haven't really gotten into. Most people say it's not as good as the first, but I really love the fact that it's a murder mystery. It's a it's kind of like a cop show. It's kind of westernized a little bit in that sense, but it's very much inspired by Minority Report. They even make references to the Philip K. Dick novel within the show, so it's a straight up homage to Minority Report, in the sense that it is, I thought the punishment came after the crime kind of dilemma, where it's like you have all this technology, this super advanced technology, that really analyzes people on a psychological level and makes law enforcement easier by determining if someone has latent criminal potential just in their mind. So it psychoanalyzes the person and determines, are you fucked up? Yep. All right, we can arrest you or kill you based on purely on that. But it opens up the door to all these problems and all this gray area, and it really is a fascinating story with a lot of potential. And I'm very much looking forward to playing the visual novel that just came out for it last week, although my copy hasn't come in yet. So we'll get to that. So yeah, great series. I highly recommend it, but it didn't quite make the cut, only because I feel like it had a lot of great standalone episodes, but it just didn't do enough with that awesome premise to really warrant it being super memorable. So.
Alright, so one of my other honorable mentions is Sailor Moon Crystal. So the main reason why I chose Crystal instead of the original is because of the fact that the original went on for way too long. One thing, I cannot do anime that goes on for too long, because like, I used to love Bleach way back when, and then I fell out of it because I was like, I just can't anymore.
Yeah.
I liked One Piece the first season, and then I fell off of it. Same with Naruto, fell off of it.
we can't have. Not every series can be Dragon Ball Z for us, where we actually sit there.
Yeah, like I'm sorry, but Dragon Ball Z is the only one where I can actually sit there like all day. But the reason why I chose Crystal because of the fact that it was shortened. I've always liked the idea of Sailor Moon. I've always loved it. But Crystal really shortened it, and it was sweet, but it still did a lot of good justice. I feel like, even with like the really weird fucking CGI with the transformation and stuff, which they fixed in the third season. They don't have that CGI anymore in the third season. Thank the fucking Lord. But I did always kind of like Sailor Moon just because, again, personal enjoyment, nostalgia, stuff like that. MVP. Magical Girl, like you cannot get any better.
The OG Magical Girl show, yeah.
Yeah, MVP. Just saying.
All right,
Love
so my other honorable mention is one that we actually watched earlier this year, which is Akame ga Kill.
Oh,
so
okay.
I watched this one. This came out last year, and we just started watching it earlier this year. And man, talk about unexpected, exceeded expectations, definitely, because when we started watching it, we were just like, we were calling out all the tropes and cliches.
Yeah, because it's like you have this one scrawny ass main protag who does not deserve to be badass or anything.
It took everything that was wrong and cliche with modern anime and made it awesome somehow, because I was groaning at first because I'm like, oh god, here's another stupidly overpowered, unjustifiably so, OP beta male wimpy anime protagonist surrounded by women, and I'm just like, ugh, with this. He's another Kirito, and I hate those type of male protagonists. I hate the wimpy beta male.
Sorry, everyone who left Sword Art Online.
Yeah, because
first season was good. Anyway.
First season was good, but not good enough to make the list. But not everybody can be Guts or Kenshiro or who else am I forgetting? Or JoJo for that matter.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it doesn't excuse all the wimpy beta males that are in these type of action shows and try to be badass, but it doesn't make any logical sense whatsoever. So we have that, and then every other member of the cast completely outshines him. And so it actually works. And you have this very cliche harem where all of the girls hit on all the major points, but it's done so well. And
the guy, too.
And the guy, they've been throwing a gay guy for, to completely complete the harem.
Yeah.
And it's it seems so cliche, but it's done so well, and it's such a guilty pleasure. It is such a turn your brain off and have fun with it show. And it was so enjoyable. The drama was so good, and
Death is the best girl.
Oh my god! Some of the directions this show went, we were watching it with each other. We could actually see our reactions to certain things. I was just like, I cannot believe the leaps and bounds this show is going through, and it just such a guilty pleasure. And I definitely I like it enough where I want to own it. I haven't bought it yet, but I definitely would like to own this series.
Yeah. So what does it be number 11?
It'd probably be number 12. I might like Psychopaths just a little bit more, but it's hard to say. Yeah. So go ahead with your last honorable mention.
My last one is actually Ghost in the Shell.
Standalone Complex?
Mm-hmm.
See, I like the Ghost in the Shell film a lot more than the series, although I do like the series, so I didn't even think to mention that. But Ghost in the Shell would definitely make the film list.
Yeah, I definitely actually really liked Ghost in the Shell when I was younger. The reason why I didn't make the list is because of the fact at the time I didn't necessarily understand all the themes back in the day, but now I definitely do. Same with Big O actually. I didn't really understand Big O either when I was younger, but
Big O?
Yeah, but his Ghost in the Shell was enjoyable. I really liked it a lot during that time, but it just didn't.
Big O is a show I never actually finished. Otherwise, that'd probably make the list too, because that's a great series.
It really
second
is.
season,
top 10?
Second season was probably bad. Was bad though, from what I hear. So I don't know that I should really consider that. So most people love the first season, not so much the second. But that's a whole other discussion.
Dorothy was so adorable. I love Dorothy from Big O actually. She's so cute. But anyway, so Ghost in the Shell is definitely good, but this did not really make the list exactly.
Yeah, so
but Major is it's a good girl.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So
Beautiful.
She was so sassy in that newest movie too. She was
oh
great.
yeah. Oh my god, I loved her in that new movie.
Yeah. So my last honorable mention obviously is Death Note because we talked about it on end, and like I said, that was my. I already kind of mentioned why I liked it because it was just my gateway drug into modern anime and how, as a young adult, as like a 15, 16-year-old, when I first saw it and how it kind of was so intellectual with the themes of the story. It wasn't necessarily about action or romance or any of that. It was just more about telling an intellectual, like murder mystery type of story. A detective story almost, and with some supernatural themes through in there. That it was just like it was the perfect thing to get my attention at that age, and just say, "Hey, this cheesy stuff, it's okay. You can like that. It's pretty cool. It's actually pretty cool." And it just became like everything else was kind of like I said. It was that and FMA, and everything just took off from there. So
I will take this chip, and I will eat it.
Yeah. So
number 1.
All right.
It's I actually have a tattoo from this anime, believe it or not, which is Full Metal Alchemist. And actually, what I did was actually put Full Metal Alchemist / Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood because I can't pick between which one is better.
If it's from that same thing I do with Fate, where it's like if it's the same franchise, I just consider it the same thing.
Yeah,
I wouldn't pick two from the same franchise for that list.
Yeah, there's no way I can pick one because you know what? Both of them are great. I feel like because one of the things that I really love about anime, like I was saying before, things that they add in there that can really be applicable to real life as well, which again is things like discrimination, war, like, all that stuff, just poverty, some people dealing with like religion that are just, because I feel like some people are kind of handed into it like this is. Is this some like shady stuff that can happen?
Yeah, like they're a victim of it, like they never had any say in it, kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and stuff like that. I feel like it was real.
Yeah.
It was real, but it was still had. It kind of had. I feel like it kind of had like a cool steampunk.
Yeah.
Steampunk
vibe as well. It had an alternate history vibe to it because that's actually what it's meant to be. To my understanding, is it's meant to be like an alternate version of our own world where alchemy was taken off as a study and implemented by the government. So,
which I thought was really cool. I never really watched a show that really like showed alchemy to be like this really awesome thing. I didn't know what alchemy was until I actually watched the show when I was younger. So like when I first started watching it, I just thought that alchemy was just synonymous with the show, and that was it. Like I didn't realize
it was a common fantasy theme.
Yeah, I didn't know it was actually a common fantasy theme until later on. But I feel like Full Metal Alchemist really made like the studies of alchemy like kind of popular. I feel like people knew more about like alchemy once that show kind of came out. You know what I mean? But man, where do I even begin? You want to talk about shows that made me feel feels and how much of those feels?
Oh yeah.
You want to talk about cringe feels? You want to talk about happy feels? You want to talk about crying feels? You want to talk about suspense feels? Like all of that. I felt all of that, and then some of the things I probably can't even think about right now. And it was like to the max. Like you can. When I was watching it, when it was first airing on Adult Swim and stuff like that, I could not wait. I could not possibly wait until the next episode to watch it. Like it was just that serious. I fell in love with it. I fell in love with the characters so much. I loved the amount. I can't say I necessarily like love the fact that like Ed and Al went through so much tragedy. Like as young kids, because they
didn't deserve that.
But. Yeah, they definitely didn't. But I feel like it definitely added to the amount of suspense. Is how, like you said before, this like you kind of see them react to how everything's happening with you. Like you see how
the empathy is really strong.
Oh my god, yes, it really is. And it's all the side. I feel like all the side characters had a good, even though they might have only been there for an episode. I feel like they were all really well written. You still kind of got the gist of like who they were, and like where what direction they're going to be going into the future and all this stuff. And oh god, to me that was just a personal favorite because of the fact that it really, like, I saw anime beforehand, but that really solidified it. Like, because I was still kind of like questionable whether or not I was like an actual fan of anime, but like Full Metal Alchemist, that set it in stone right there. As I am an anime fan forever. I'm good. I'm set. like just the slapstick. That's actually how I wound up liking a lot of different genres as well, because it kind of reminded me of Full Alchemist, because it had so many different types of, between like the comedy and the action, and even like some of the romance, like some of the side characters, and also with Edward and Winry as well. So like, that's how I just wound up kind of getting used to other anime that happened to be like, I mean, besides mech shows being like shonen romance, it has some like sorts of like depending on like what type of like stuff they're going on between the actual characters. So it just kind of set all of those things and stuff for me to love in the future for other anime as well. So it definitely set that bar, and it set it really high. And also Brotherhood. Yeah, I'm not gonna spoil. I can't say much about Brotherhood because you haven't finished it yet, but the alternate ending, damn. Damn, like
I'm
damn.
excited for that. So it has Brotherhood within itself has 2 endings.
No, Brotherhood has its own separate ending from like the original, because obviously, as you guys know, the original went a separate direction from the manga, because the anime was coming out like faster than the manga was being released, so that had an alternate ending. But then the actual ending for Brotherhood was actually how the actual manga ended. So it's 2 separate endings. It splits off.
Okay, well I figured that it did, but then again they also the Brotherhood is considered an adaptation of the manga, and other series do this as well, like Hellsing Ultimate and that kind of thing, where they make a new adaptation for or even Facing Unlimited Blade Works could be considered that, because it's the second round of the visual novel, but the manga was also based off of the Unlimited Blade Works route, so you could also technically say it's an adaptation of the manga, but I don't even like most fans of Time Moon and Fate don't even acknowledge the manga, because why bother? But in the case of Full Alchemist, when they went to the ending through the anime because it was coming out too quickly, again they went to the movie, The Conqueror of Shambhala, which was an okay movie. Like, it had some great animation, but the plot direction was just weird. And like I thought the way the series ended on its own, it did fine without that additional ending tacked onto it with the movie. I felt like it did okay without that. Yeah,
but I will say I definitely commend the writers who actually finished the original before the actual manga came out, because I feel like the ending that they made was still fucking fantastic.
It was
it didn't need the ending from the manga to have a really awesome ending to it. And then the actual ending for the manga was also just as awesome. So it's like, that's why I can't pick. Like, even though they split off, they're still just as good. So
the payoff was definitely worth it.
Yeah.
So your my number 5 was your number 1, and your number 2 is my number 1. So that's it. If you guys have any comments, suggestions, feedback, opinions, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of varying opinions, but we can't please everybody, and like we said, we're not gonna.
If you don't like it, go fuck yourself.
I mean, well, that's what we're saying to an extent, because we're just like this, like we said at the beginning, this is highly opinionated. This was such a long video, but I think it's something we've been meaning to talk about for a long time. So thank you guys for bearing with us and watching it, and